everyone. Today it's going to be another Music Talk Tuesday, and yes, as you can see, it's another kind of 90s thing, and this time being one-hit wonders. But let me take a few minutes just to explain that what actually I'm going to try to do now is, for this entire month, I want to do one-hit wonders from all of the generations. And I'm gonna go, and I decided to think the best way to do it would actually just be to go backwards. So I'm gonna start with the 90s, which I'll talk about today, and then next week will be the 80s, and then the 70s, and then the 60s, and I might mix the 60s and the 50s together, depending, but we'll see. But I guess really that's all I can explain about that. So without further ado, let me explain kind of what one-hit wonders are. In case you don't know, one-hit wonders are basically, like they are one-hit wonders, bands, musicians, artists that had one hit, and after that it was just kind of poof. Or they maybe had like an album or something, but everybody turns to this one particular song. And it seems like that one particular song is what people remember the band or the artist by, and they don't really go with like a majority of the artist's work. They just go with one particular song, and they say that song was just so good. And this being the 90s, I think there were just a lot of one-hit wonders out there. A lot of stuff. From what I was able to research, VH1 had a pretty decent list. I think they did like 40 one-hit wonders of the 90s. Some of the choices on that list are on my list. I also researched other websites and got different artists and random songs that I've listened to and heard of, and I was able to come up with a pretty good, decent-sized list. But again, this list is in no particular order. I think these songs are all good. I can't really put one above the other. However, there are, if you just Google, there's going to be tons and tons of different opinions as to which one is number one, and I'd rather not focus on a countdown. I'd rather just focus on, you know, what makes each of the songs unique, and why I find them to be very appealing to my ears. And to maybe my nostalgia a bit, but mostly to my ears. So without further ado, let me get started. Now, the first song that I wanted to talk about is I'm Gonna Be 500 Miles, The Proclaimers. And yes, I'm wondering if you've heard of that song. But again, out of all of the lists that I'm going to mention, it's probably going to be hard for some people to know exactly, okay, what was that song again? Because sometimes I would look it up and I wouldn't remember. And then I would just type in the song into YouTube and find the song and go, oh my gosh, now I know. It's it's that song. Yes, I remember. And it all comes back to me. But basically the song is the song that that just goes, when I wake up, yeah, I know I'm gonna be the man that comes home to you. Sound familiar? That's that song. And basically the song takes a very sort of laid back tone to it. Like the artist is just kind of going, I know I'm gonna be, you know, it's just very, and almost in the lyrics, even though there are times where his voice does get sort of more passionate, it seems at the same time though that it's very laid back. It's not like this ballad, maybe like you see a lot of in the 80s, where they would just sing like just very passionately, and it's not like you sing, wake up and I know I'm gonna be the man who comes back home to you. You know, it's not like that. It's when I wake up, yeah, I know I'm gonna be the man that comes home. It's very just more like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. It's not like I'm going to do it. You know, it's that kind of approach. So from what I can say is that the song, I think, has various interpretations, but for the most part I think it's more dealing with a romantic relationship, and it does it in very such a companion-like way. Like at one point in the lyrics it says like I'm gonna wake up drunk next to you. Almost like just these kind of random stuff that that he and this other person are kind of going through. He's gonna be there, you know. It's kind of just more of a I want to say it's more of a like the love companion like relationship. If you probably see maybe like romantic comedies or something like that where they kind of have this sort of funny-esque, like kind of laid-back relationship, this is kind of what this song does, I think. It takes it on that approach, and it doesn't really decide to go with this really epically beautiful, deep kind of feeling. It kind of takes itself in a little bit of more of a laid-back approach, I think. It doesn't try to be like very ballad-like, even though the lyrics may at times seem like they're ballad-like, because he's like saying like I would walk 500 miles to you know to see you, but he also mentions like at one point in the lyrics it says, and when the money comes in for the work I'll do, I'll pass almost every penny to you. Almost like it kind of, I think, takes it in a more realistic approach. Like, we can't give everything to somebody. It's not like we can, you know, really do all of these things. But what I can do is all that I'm capable of. And I think it takes it in that sort of relationship type approach, instead of being just a ballad where it's very beautiful and deep and very, I don't want to say, like, this song is, I think, meaningful, but it takes it in a more laid back, kind of more rational approach, and instead of the more irrational approach in a lot of ballads that you'll hear, where it's dealing with things that are very, very deep. Or you could say that in the opposite, that the ballad is maybe a little bit more realistic because it is dealing with these really complex emotions that we may experience in real life. But I think as far as like taking things not so seriously, it's able to create a reality within itself, and is able to sort of establish this idea of, you know, that the relationships we do develop are sort of, you know, friendly, and, you know, we can do these, you know, random things together, and I can do all these things for you. But, you know, I'm not going to do it in such an extent that it's, you know, borderline obsession. So, I think for what the song is, I think it's really well done. I really enjoy it. I really love the guy's accent. I think he's just a lot of fun to listen to, and I just like the whole approach to the song, and it's just really nice to hear, because it takes itself in a more casual like approach, and you do feel sort of the realism of it, and how, you know, we may laugh while we're with somebody, or it has that feeling of making you sort of happy if you listen to it, and you kind of get the sense of how, you know, a bond can be formed within those kinds of feelings that you may that these feelings that you do have while listening to it may respond to you, and you may like look back at relationships maybe you've had, and like the fun simplistic moments. I think I think the best way to describe this song is it's taking a more simplistic approach to a romantic sort of relationship instead of this very deep, intimate sort of relationship. And it's kind of nice to see that. And it's interesting to have an artist do that. So, yeah, I'm gonna be 500 miles. Yes, definitely worth considering. And the band is called the Proclaimers. I believe they're European, because I believe the musician does have a particular accent. I can't place it. I'm sure it's probably UK, somewhere within the UK, either England, Ireland, or Scotland. But I'm not sure. I don't want to like say and be wrong because I don't really know necessarily. I was just more looking into the lyrics rather than the band themselves. But I'm sure if you would research them anywhere, they would come up, and you can probably find something interesting and something definitely worth looking into if you are more interested about the band and their sound. But yes, that was just the one song that was played on the radio constantly when I was growing up, and found myself really enjoying it, and I really love it when it does come on the radio. So really like that song. Next one. Some would probably debate this one is probably one of the best of the 90s one-hit wonders, and I'd say definitely that it holds some merit to that. And this one is Bittersweet Symphony by the Verve. Okay, and in case you don't remember what the song is, it goes something like, it's a bittersweet symphony, this life, trying to make ends meet. You're a slave to something, something. You're a slave to money, and you die, then you die. That's basically a gist of the lyrics. I think this is one of the one-hit wonders that people are more aware of. Because I think with 500 Miles, you will probably be like, oh yeah, I did hear that song, it's just I don't really know the name. But with this one, I think Bittersweet Symphony by the Verve is just something that a lot of people, I think, know about. And I think what the song is really trying to suggest is sort of how life is sort of this, again, like this bittersweet symphony. There's also good and then there's bad. And I think the artist tries to make a point that that there are like certain things within the scope of reality that are imposed upon us, like different rules and regulations that we have to follow. And the big example that he uses is money, and how we're sort of forced to work for a living, and we're forced to, like find a job, be practical, in order to fulfill our needs and wants. It's I think one of those songs where, like he says, you're sort of a slave in a sense to money, because money allows you to get the things that you want or need. But sometimes there's other people that have more money than you and have more power and have more success than you do. And so it's kind of this bittersweet symphony within life, because we do have all of these things, these resources, but it's the fact that we have to sacrifice a lot in order to get to those resources that I think he's saying that that's why we're a slave to money, because we have to work because those resources are limited, and we have to sort of do everything that everybody else does in order to live, in order to have a life. And I think that's what basically the Bittersweet Symphony is. It's this idea of, you have all these things that we have in this world, especially in the 21st century, and especially in very well-to-do countries like America, but at the same time we still have our own struggles and having to deal with the fact that, you know, we have to go by certain things and we have to live our lives in the form of regulating ourselves. In particular, you know, I mean, I would love for the rest of my life, I mean, I would just love to go out, and I'm just trying to use this as an example. Like, I myself would love to go out and travel, you know, just travel the world, go all to all these places, but I can't do that because I don't have the money, I don't have the resources. I'm not capable of doing that. So he's kind of showing how, in particular, money, as well as these rules and regulations put upon us by society, really limit our ability to maybe enjoy life, and then you therefore create this bittersweet sort of emotion, because I still can travel, it's just I'm not able to do it all the time. And I just think that there's some truth and some merit in that, of what the artists were trying to suggest with their song. And I guess, and I think that's really a true thing. I think really life is bittersweet. It's not one or the other. It's like everything is sort of just mixed in together, and how you deal with different emotions. So, for the most part, I think it's a very, very enjoyable song. And it does sound, as far as sound-wise, it does sound a little bit like they are trying to display this sort of bittersweetness, because again, they kind of mix the sounds of, like, you know, what would seem like maybe more harmonious to us, or display an emotion of harmony and happiness, and kind of mixes that with sort of other sounds that are maybe a little bit more, not necessarily sinister, but maybe a little bit more sad and not so, you know, happy or go lucky or peaceful, and within that trying to create its own emotion. And I think that's basically a lot of what they do, really. I think with their sound really does show what the song is trying to display, especially with the lyrics, and also the fact in having to deal, like, at one point he says, like, I can't change, no, like, he can't do anything in order to get out of this bittersweet state. He's stuck there. That's the bittersweet symphony. You know, you can't ignore it, you can't plug your ears and make it go away. It's just something that that is a part of life, and then there's something that, and it's something that you have to kind of deal with. Like I can't change the fact that I am a slave to money. I can't change the fact that I was, you know, I was born under these and these circumstances, or yada yada yada. And that's kind of how it is within life, is that some things are just kind of, you know, things that you can't change, and that you just kind of have to go along with. And I think that's what makes it bittersweet, is because we can get things from it that may be positive, but we also still get a lot of sadness from it, and that we can't always do what maybe we want to do. But yeah, definitely worth considering if you haven't heard the song. I think very recommendable. Probably one of the greatest one-hit wonders of the 90s. Next song is The Impression That I Get by the Mighty Bosstones. And in case you don't know or don't remember what that song is, it's like, it goes, never had to knock on wood, but I'm glad I haven't yet. And then at one point it goes, that's the impression that I get. Do 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 do. It's that song. And basically the narrator of the song isn't really having a hard time, actually. It's everybody else around him that's kind of having bad luck and misfortune, and he's the one, he hasn't experienced misfortune yet. So it kind of plays itself in sort of like a maybe a little bit more of a happy tone, and then he's like, you know, I never had to knock on wood. I never had to, you know, deal with these things that other people have to deal with. And then at one point in the song he sort of questions whether or not he could get through things that his friends or people he knows that have gone through tough times. He wonders if he could get out of them like his friends, and then he thinks like, yeah, I could, you know. He's kind, I want to say the narrator's almost sort of like in his kind of bubble, because he just lacks the understanding of the other people within his life, because he's never had to deal with things that are maybe a little bit more complicated. You know, he's never been really down on his luck. Everything's just been fine, and I think when people like live within that, they don't really see beyond what anybody else could go through. But I think what's interesting is that the narrator is trying to, I think, get out of that bubble and trying to understand if maybe he could deal with things, if things were to, if things that could be bad could happen to him, and how he would maybe deal with that. But it seems like there's still this kind of separation as to him not knowing. And again, it's like a bubble. It's like not living within someone else's reality. He just lives within his own reality, and his own reality is the fact that, he can't he can't see it the way other people can, especially people who've had their, you know, downs and their misfortunes and things of that nature. He just can't see it because nothing really that severe has happened to him. So there's just this kind of removal. And I don't want to say that, I guess this is just my interpretation of the sound, but I think and by maybe the voice of the singer, but for some reason I think there's this desire to stay in that bubble, because then you don't have to deal with the things that other people have dealt with. You don't have to go through certain processes that maybe really will maybe hurt you or damage your life. I think that he wants to stay, the narrator wants to stay in this bubble, but he kind of wonders, what would I be able to, oh, maybe I would, you know, maybe I would be able to handle it. You know, he just doesn't know, and he's living in like his little bubble, and this little bubble is basically this song of, yeah, I'm happy and I don't have to put up with anything, because it's very, for the most part, the song's very upbeat, and it's not really trying to be sad or depressing. Like it's I think it's trying to show the fact that this narrator just, you know, my life's good, you know, I'm happy living in my bubble, and you know, that's where my bubble is, and you know, don't want to deal with anything that anybody else goes through. But if I were to have to deal with it, could I handle it? I probably could, you know, because they only think and see things through their bubble, so maybe they think beyond the bubble they're still capable of doing things. But it's sort of like, I'm starting to dive into, I guess, the psychology of this, but that's how I think I envision the song. It's just this guy just being in this sort of bubble, and not being able to see out of that bubble. and therefore you get this kind of upbeat type song as a result. So it's very catchy, it's very fun, really enjoy it, and that's basically, I think, all I can say about that song. The impression that I get by the mighty, mighty Bosstones. Yeah. Next one is, and I want to get this name right because this name is just, because everybody knows this. I'm pretty sure tons and tons of people know this song, but for some reason, this name is just so funky. Tubthumping by Chumbawamba. Okay. Yeah. That's the song that goes, I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna kick me down. I get knocked down. You know that song with that chorus? Yeah, that's that song. A lot of people, I think, have different interpretations of this song, but I think in a more broader sense. The song suggests that, you know, no matter what happens to a person, they'll get knocked down, but they'll get up again. Sort of like, if something bad happens to you, you still get back up and you still stand up for yourself and what you think or believe. And there's also references to, or it does mention, like, drinks, like he takes a whiskey drink, he takes vodka, all these different alcoholic beverages, and he starts to think of like a better time, as according to the song. And I think basically what that deals with is just that he's just trying to drain away the problems and go back to something where it was better. And I guess using alcohol as a means to get away from sort of the reality of his time, maybe. But also there's a point too as to, basically in the chorus, I do get myself knocked down at times, I do get stressed, or I do cave in under pressure and maybe try to use a means to escape. And I'm saying I is referring to the narrator of the song. But no matter what, I'll always get back up and I'll always try again. That kind of, I think that's really basically the mentality, I think, behind this song for the most part. And I think it's very powerhousey sounding. It's just very like, yeah, just I get knocked down, but I get up again. It's like really just, for the most part, I think it's upbeat, and it does feel like very more, I think, lively, and somewhat similar, I think, to the first, or the song that I was talking about before, the Impression That I Get song, where it's doing this in sort of a more, I don't want to say really lighthearted, but it does it more in a powerhouse of, of a certain kind of happy, like, what, no matter what, I don't care, I'm content with myself, and I guess what I do. I think that it's that same kind of feeling, and it's the same with the other feeling, with the other song, where it's like, yeah, I'm happy to be in this bubble, I'm happy to be where I am. It's sort of that similar kind of, I think, mentality or state, I guess you could say, of the narrator speaking in both of those songs. And I think that's sort of reflected in how it sounds. But another song that I really enjoy Now the next one, oh my, am I gonna get away with saying this word? It's basically by Meredith Brooks. Basically, that song is talking about, and this is, I basically think more through a woman's perspective, but it's basically telling someone to basically take to take her the way she is. The narrator's trying to tell someone to, you know, you like me for my flaws as much as my virtues, you know, because that's who I am and you can't change me. You know, it's like you either accept who I am or, you know, you take a hike, basically, because she's not willing to accept the fact or the idea of her changing herself, and kind of leaves you with more of a take it or leave it sort of position, as an audience member, like, okay, I should accept this person for the way she is, or maybe I could put myself in that person's shoes and say, yeah, I would be like that too. You know, I'd say, you know what, you either accept me who I am or bye-bye. And I think it's sort of just like that. She just, you know, and she says the word like, I'm a bitch, I'm a lover, I'm a child, I'm a mother, I'm a sinner, I'm a saint, I do not feel ashamed. You know, it's that opposite of showing you, like, yes, she does have virtues, but she also has flaws, and it's about accepting those virtues and flaws and appreciating the person for their flaws as much as their virtues. And I think that's what the song's trying to suggest. You know, take somebody the way they are, and if you can't accept that, then move on. You know, it's that kind of mentality, and I think it really, really works, and I really do enjoy the song because I think it gives people a lot of confidence within themselves to say, you know what, yeah, I have flaws, get over it. You know, I'm a human being, I'm not this robot, you know, I'm not perfect, I'm not this angel, I'm not this just devil creature either. I'm a human being, and human beings are complicated. So I think that's a perfect stance on how you address this kind of issue of people questioning you. You just say, that's who I am, take it or leave it, you know? And it's awesome. I love that mentality, and I think a lot of people really find that mentality to be very inspiring. And I think the way that she says it and expresses it through singing is just well done, and showing that she doesn't care. And the song sounds a lot like, you know, this is who I am, you know, this is, the song sounds like a take it or leave it kind of attitude. It does sound like, you know, this is who she is, and if you can't accept that for whatever reason, bye-bye, you know? It's that kind of mentality. So yes, definitely worth listening to. Because again, there are people out there who probably would try to change somebody, and this is basically a response to sort of that, you know, like, hey, you know, take me as I am. And she even says that in the song. So awesome song, just really worth listening to. Powerhouse of accepting and being yourself. So I think that's really all I can say about that song. Next song I wanted to talk about was Walking in Memphis. Oh yes, Walking in Memphis. Oh my gosh, and I'm trying to remember the artist's name, and I can't remember, and I totally did not write that down. Oh. I am so sorry. I just saw a spider on my floor, or on my carpet here, and oh, it's nasty. But moving on. Walking in Memphis, spider. Ah, no, this song is not about spiders. This song is about walking in Memphis. Yes, walking in Memphis. And basically what the guy talks about in the song is basically going through kind of the cultural aspects of Memphis. Because he actually, he like literally takes a plane there, and he talks about what he experiences there, and I think it gets more into sort of maybe the Christian culture, because again, Memphis is a city that is, I think, more based within like Christian gospel culture, and that culture is really encapsulated here, especially when you have the people singing in the background with him too, like walking in Memphis. And what I really like is the artist's passion in it, and I like when somebody talks about a particular place that really appeals to them and sort of addresses why they think this place is so special or so magical or so resonative onto them. And I think he just does it really well, and he does kind of incorporate some things that may not be within my culture or my understanding, but he addresses them with a lot of passion and I think a lot of heart, and I think that's really what the song has. It's one of those heartfelt kind of songs, but not heartfelt in the sense that it's sad, but heartfelt in the sense that it's kind of empowering of, I'm walking in Memphis. I am walking and I'm hanging out in Memphis, and it's a really cool thing. You should come check Memphis out. It's that kind of a talk, or basically how he's trying to address Memphis. And I just heard it tons and tons of times on the radio, and it was just a lot of fun to listen to. And I will make sure that I will put the artist's name in the link below when I link all of these to you guys. But yes, that name of that artist escapes me. I can't remember, but very good song. Very, very interesting and should be looked into. Now the next one is actually one that's kind of a little bit more obvious, but again, we have to kind of do this one because it's just one of those things where everybody just heard this song, and I'm sure that anybody who's watching now has probably heard of this song, and it is a one-hit wonder, and it's called Baby Got Back by Sir Mix-a-Lot. Yes, Baby Got Back. Now, I'm not really a particular fan of hip-hop. It's just not really my genre. However, I do find this song very humorous. I find it funny in that it's not taking itself so seriously. I like that it kind of has the intro sort of in the music video in the beginning where the two girls are talking, or the one girl's talking to another one, and how it kind of opens itself up and kind of shows us a different way in looking, I guess, at femininity. And I actually really like it. To be honest, it's catchy. It knows what it is. And I just like how it's just one of those hip-hop clubbish kinds of songs, because they do kind of play this still in like clubs. I mean, I haven't been to a club in like a while, but when I remember going like one of the times before, they did play this song. This song is still very resonative, even though Sir Mix-a-Lot is pretty much a one-hit wonder. For the most part, he still is this very, very interesting character trying to display sort of this kind of funny, humorous song about girls with big butts, and doing it in a way that actually I think works, whereas I don't think any other artist could really pull that off and have us take it seriously. And I just want to go real quick to turn on the light, and I will come right back, because it is getting way too dark in here. But yes, that's all I think I can say about that. It's just very humorous and simple and knows what it needs to do, and it just does it so effectively, and it's really catchy, and I cannot not recommend it, and I cannot not mention it in this list. Now the next one I wanted to talk about was Steal My Sunshine by Len. Now you might be wondering, what is that song? I don't remember, or I don't know if I've ever heard of this song. Well, basically the song is the one that goes, if you steal my sunshine, dun dun da da da, if you steal my sunshine. It's that song. Very trippy. Let me just say that. It's a very trippy song. Very trippy. The lyrics are very hard to interpret because it's just that trippy, and sometimes it can be kind of random. But I'm pretty sure that this is very drug influenced. I'm sure if you listen to this, you'll probably understand where I'm coming from, just by how it sounds and by what they address in the song. And I think it's addressing these kinds of trippy things as being sort of on the more sad side. Like at one point it says in lyrics, I know it's done for me if you steal my sunshine, and of course you can't become if you only say what you would have done, so I missed a million miles of fun. So basically it kind of addresses these ideas, or these trippy out feelings, in a more sad kind of way, by saying I'm not really getting anything out of things, or it might be the after effects of certain things, of being in one state and then being in the other, and then all of a sudden feeling sad. I think that's probably a better way to describe it, but it's just very catchy, just, you know, and then just the kind of trippiness is just so fun, and I really like it a lot. I don't think there's really much I can say as far as the interpretation goes, because again it is kind of obscure, and it would be hard for me to say, but I think it is trying to establish some sort of sad effect, but at the same time still sound really trippy and sort of happy, and go lucky. So basically I think that's really all I can say about that song. Now the next one I wanted to talk about was You Get What You Give by New Radicals. Oh yes, this song. You know the song that plays at the end of Click, if you've seen Click? Yeah, I just happened to stumble upon that movie, and then I realized, oh, there's that song at the end that I really like, that I've heard on the radio tons and tons of times when I was little. So yeah, it's that one song that goes, don't forget you've got the, or it says, you got the music in you, one dance left, this world is gonna pull through. That song. And this one is again kind of this trippy happy, has this trippy happy feel to it, but for the most part it's offering encouragement. It's a very encouraging song, like you've got the music in you, you know, it's like, don't give up, you got a reason to live. It's like very, you know, the chorus is just very encouraging, like, you know, you can do it. It's telling the audience you, and I think the way that the sound mixes in with the emotions, I think tie in really well, and how it's trying to be sort of like this more empowering type song, but I don't think really so over empowering, but doing it, I think, in a more lighthearted but effective way. And it also, I think, it suggests not conforming to kind of society. The lyrics are pretty out there. They're pretty random, like the last song that I mentioned. I think it takes sort of a similar kind of trippy tone to it, but at the same time, it still has that part to it that kind of is addressing the idea of that you shouldn't really conform into the way other people are. In particular, I guess, I mean, it talks about rich people, and it talks about like certain celebrities, and I guess the narrator implies them as like fake because they, I guess probably because in his opinion, you know, sometimes celebrities don't really show who they really are. They just create this kind of fake image, and they're not really genuine. And I think he's trying to suggest to people, you know, be genuine, be you, and and it does get random at times, but I think it does it in a way that offers a lot of encouragement to people. But again, some people might be like, you know, hey, I'm rich and I'm unique, but I think it's just trying to hint at things to that of what could be possible if you choose to conform to maybe a certain lifestyle, like you lose your genuine uniqueness, I guess. And I think he's just trying to use rich people and celebrities as kind of an example, but not necessarily, I think, really targeting them, really, because the lyrics do get random at times, and I was just wondering if the person or the band just kind of decided to go, yeah, we're just gonna spew out random lyrics right here, and that's what it sounds like. So, but I think for the most part, it's a fun song. I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun, and it gives me that kind of, yeah, I still got the music in me, you know, feeling. But I think that's really all I can say about that song. Next song I wanted to mention is No Rain by Blind Melon. Oh yes, I mentioned this one. This song kind of deals with things in a more lonely type-esque feeling by the lyrics. If you and I do encourage you to watch the music video, because I think the music video actually kind of displays a little bit more visually of what the song is kind of trying to suggest. And it does kind of sound at points like it's trying to be a little bit more of that downer type song. It's not trying to be uplifting. It's not trying to be this this over powerhouse, or trying to kind of display irony. I think for the most part it is consistent with its lyrics, in that it does sound kind of lonely, and it does sound kind of like it's kind of like the song is boring. But the thing is, the song is not boring, because it actually kind of addresses relatable, I think, emotions. And I think the song also deals with trying to be sort of accepted somehow, and also with insanity, and how, you know, sometimes loneliness might drive people insane, and, you know, sort of how we deal with that, and sometimes how we deal with loneliness ends up causing people to become insane. So basically, from what I can read off the lyrics, it says, "And all I can do is just pour some tea for two, but it's not sane." And I think what they're trying to suggest with that is you know, somebody's trying to have a connection with someone, like by pouring some tea for two, but it's not sane, meaning that it's not realistic because there's nobody else there, because that person can't find somebody else to be with or associate themselves with. It's that kind of a feeling, and I think that's very relatable to some people. It's very, it knows what it wants to be, and it takes itself seriously by showing sort of this kind of lonely, sort of miserable type feeling. And I think throughout what the narrator's singing is, you can tell that he is kind of miserable, and that, you know, like, and feels like that he's not, he knows that he can't do anything else but be lonely because he has nobody else. Because it even says, like in lyrics, like I said, it says, "It's all I can do." It's like, yeah, this is all I can do. All I can do is just talk to a wall, you know. All I can do is just be with myself because nobody else wants to be around me. And how that kind of leads to someone becoming not so there and a little bit more on the not sane side. So I think that's really all I can say about that song. Next one I wanted to mention was a big one. And actually, if you watch the Nostalgia Critic's website or his videos, he does mention this at one point sometimes, and when he does mention this kind of point that he's trying to make, he uses this song. And this song is called Flagpole Sitta by Harvey Danger. And oh yes, this song. Oh my gosh, this was a really big hit in the 90s. Really big one-hit wonder hit, I think. I think it's been done in movies, TV shows. It's just that one big song, and it deals with sort of insanity, I'd say. The lyrics have various interpretations. I mean, people have been saying tons and tons of stuff online when I tried doing research. They just said tons and tons of stuff, because on the one hand, one person says it might be about this, and then the other person says, oh no, it's probably about this. That's my opinion. But I think I'm going to try to make this in the most broadest way I can explain this song. Basically, the song, I think, deals with insanity and being in an area of complete insanity, and in sort of a place where reality is kind of crazy. You know, like, at one point he says, "Been around the world and found that only stupid people are breeding. The stupid cloning and feeding." And that's what I think, and how reality sometimes can be sometimes, because you look at certain things that happen within the scope of reality, and you go, that's so absurd. Like, it's just so crazy that how could this be part of reality? How could this possibly relate to the real world? And I think that's really what the song tries to give you this feeling of, like, you're in this place where things are just completely whacked up and messed up. And I think it displays it in such a good way. And I think we can even all apply this to our lives, because I think we've been in a place at one point maybe in our lives where we go, how is this possible? Like, is this really within the scope of reality? We just go, this is just so insane. Like, how could this exist? And I think that's really illustrated when you watch the Nostalgia Critics' interpretation of it, because something just so completely insane happens, but it's done in a movie, and it is a reality because somebody in their mind made that up, and it's just so messed up that you can't help but think, how could this be reality? How could somebody just make that up? Or how could people do this, you know? I think that's what the song is trying to suggest. It's trying to suggest this world that we live in is insane sometimes. And I think it is insane. Like, when you watch the news maybe at some times, or when you watch, or when you maybe watch even reality TV, you might go, is this really reality? This is insane. Why would people do this? I think it really, really tries to hammer that down. And I think it does just a good job of doing that. And it really leaves me with that sense of, yeah, I mean, things are really messed up, you know? But it's actually within the scope of it can be in the scope of day-to-day life. Really well done song, really enjoyed that one. Next one I wanted to talk about was Torn by Natalie Imbruglia. Yes, I believe she's also from a foreign country. I am not sure. I want to say Australia, but I could be wrong. I think my dad mentioned once, like, she's Australian, but I could be wrong. He might have said a different country. But I don't really hear an accent. I don't hear her speak an accent. But yeah, Torn basically is her main one-hit wonder. And this song in particular I like because I think the way she sings, and even though it does kind of sound a little more poppy, it does sound sort of genuine. And basically the song addresses the fact that the narrator, her singing, realizes that the man she loves isn't, or the man that she thought she loves isn't really who he really is. She, I guess, just likes the idea of him, but then when she comes to know him a little bit more, she just doesn't she doesn't see how she could love him for who he is. And basically I think that's where you get the torn part. You get the side of, you know, her wanting to really love this person, but realizing that she, then within the scope of reality, she really doesn't, because he's not the man that she thought he was. So it's that kind of a song, and I think it's very identifiable. I could see why a lot of people would really like this song. I remember hearing it tons and tons of times on the radio. I remember really enjoying it, and I still very much so enjoy it. Definitely worth taking into consideration. Next one is called The Way by Fastball. Oh yes, this song. This song is actually trying to base itself, I believe, on a true story. Something that actually happened. I remember when we were interpreting like first person, second person, third person in my college English or in my high school English class. This was one of the songs that she picked for us to say, like, what person is this in? And basically what the song is trying to suggest is I quote from one of the sources that I was able to find about this song, is that it's basically about an elderly couple in Texas where Fastball is from, went out to drive to a Pioneer Day festival one day in June 1997, but they never arrived. Both of them were found dead 2 weeks later at the bottom of a ravine in Arkansas, which was way off of their original driving route. Tony Scalzo, the bassist of the band, was inspired to write the song after he read the story. So basically, it's a song about a true life event, and people might be kind of confused at points because it does kind of talk about them suddenly going, it says at one point, where were they going without ever knowing the way, and then it says they'll never get hungry, they'll never get old and gray. Well, basically that's just saying that they're kind of spirits now, that they're not living anymore. They'll never get old and gray because they don't age anymore, because they're gone, they're dead. So and it addresses it in sort of this and not with irony, not with a happy tone. It does try to go with the serious route, and I really like how it says, like, you can see their shadows wandering off somewhere. They won't make it home, but they really don't care. Wandering the highway and basically within those lyrics, I can say that I think it's trying to address sort of, I think the and the way that the chorus kind of comes together is trying to sort of address, I think, maybe more of a bittersweet tone, because again, these are just two people, they're both sort of dead together. They'll just kind of be lost forever, but they'll be lost forever sort of together, like they won't make it home, but they really don't care, sort of like saying, like, yeah, they're dead, and that's why they wouldn't care, but they're together. So and I think that's just done through the sound, because I think with the chorus it kind of tries to make it mix the sort of happy with kind of the sad and serious kind of tone, but I really like it. I think it's very enjoyable to listen to, and one of my personal favorites. Definitely worth looking into. Really like it. The next one that I wanted to mention was Lovefool by the Cartigans. Oh yes, Lovefool. Pooh. This song has been in movies, in particular the 90s version of Romeo and Juliet. It's how do I say, it mixes, like, I think with her voice, like the way she sounds it sounds very sensual, but at the same time it sounds sort of cutesy too, and basically the song sort of addresses somebody wishing to live in a false reality. Basically the woman singing realizes that the guy that she thought really loved her doesn't love her anymore, and she would rather live within the reality of him saying, like, yeah, I actually do, and I think this really deals with real situations and real emotions, because she blames herself at one point in the song, sort of, I just, at one point she's like, I wonder what I could have done, to make you, make you stay. And I think it's just very relatable. I think this song is just very relatable. It knows what it is, and it addresses it, I think, really well, with the fact of her wanting to, live in this state of false reality, but then realizing, oh yeah, reality, I have to realize that it's not really what I want it to be. And I think that's just very relatable for a lot of people, because a lot of people sometimes would like to live in a false reality rather than accept the truth, with tons of different situations. I mean, not just love, but with this, I think it does it really effectively, and I think it's very relatable. And I think her sensual voice, as well as mixed with kind of the sad, yet kind of false hope and promise of a reality that doesn't exist. I think that's what makes the song really effective. It's kind of bummer sounding at points, like poop, like it doesn't go the way I want it to, and then at the same time it's kind of like, and then it sort of changes when she's kind of like, please give me a false reality. Don't let me think that this is true. So I think that's what makes the song really effective. It's just that it blends those two things kind of together. One point her being really bummed out, another point with her trying to rekindle some kind of false hope. So that's, I think, all I can say about that song. Next one I wanted to talk about was another one that was a really big hit. I hear still constantly on the radio, at least the radio stations I listen to, and it's called Runaway Train by Soul Asylum. Oh yes. Really like the song. And I think what the song is trying to encapsulate is the idea of losing control of your life, not being able to change things, and therefore sort of being incapable of, going back to the way things maybe were before you lost control. I think it's really trying to address that, especially with the chorus of like, runaway train never coming back, wrong way on a one-way track. So basically, like, the one-way track is that they can't change their circumstances, but it's not like leading them in the right direction to help better their lives. They're just losing control, and they don't know what to do, and instead of trying to maybe face the problem, all they feel that they can do is run away from it. And then that's the point where they get to no return. They don't return, they don't come back. There's not a two-way train. It's just, it goes one direction, and they can't come back. And it addresses this, I think, in such a realistic approach with how it sounds. The lyricist, he says, or the narrator or vocalist here, basically he just lays it down for you. This is the reality. Runaway train never coming back. It's the end. That person is gone. You can't change it. I think it's really trying to address things that can't be changed or altered. It's trying to address things of how people were just on so the brink that they couldn't hold on to anything anymore, and so they went on this one-way ticket train, and then they can't get themselves out of the position that they're in because they chose to follow that path. And and he even says in the song, got a ticket for a runaway train. Like somebody is willing to like run away from their problems, and in doing so may never really come back. And and then in the end it doesn't really end up solving their problems to begin with. And it's I think addressing the inability to change your circumstances, to the point where reality hits you and you can't change the idea and the mindset of the circumstances that were placed upon you. And it's basically, the result is just a runaway train never coming back. And you do see in the music video, like in the beginning, they do address people that are like missing, or that went missing. And I found that interesting. Sometimes people, I think, really do run away from their problems. And sometimes that results in them getting missed, or people looking for them and not being able to find them because they chose to maybe run away from those problems that they were maybe dealing with. At least that's what I interpret through the music video for the most part when I was watching it. So again, and I think for the most part it does address it through a really realistic perspective, like just saying runaway train never going back. And I think it does it really good with like showing the images of just pictures of people who've gone missing, who've just been gone, you know. It's like runaway train. Basically, you know, this person is not coming back. You'll never see this person again. Sort of like trying to not trying to shove it in your face, but addresses it in a way that's just kind of more casual, like runaway train never going back, but not saying it so forcefully, but just trying to show you plain and simple the reality of these kinds of situations, is that some people run away from their problems and they end up never coming back, and never end up being found. So I think that's really what encompasses pretty much that entire song, and it's a really good song. I really like it. Really well done. Last song. Primative Radio Gods, standing outside a broken phone booth with money. Oh yes. Excuse me. I was just like breathing out and then but this song is kind of hard to interpret, but I think it's trying to ask about life's purpose. I think it's trying to address certain points of questioning whether or not a God exists. I think it is that kind of questioning of if our purpose is to really serve something, or if our purpose is to create our own purpose. And it does so by like asking questions of, at one point saying like, am I alive or thoughts that drift away? Does summer come? Come for everyone? Can humans do as prophets say? And if I die before I learn to speak, can money pay for all the days I lived awake but half asleep? Really well done lyrics, and I think it's trying to address the whole idea of, can we really be sort of, I guess, divinely inspired, or do we just somehow just live for our own purposes, and do we really live out of selfishness? I think it's really trying to address those issues, and it does it in a very sort of dreamlike, sad kind of tone in the way that I'm talking to you right now. It kind of is like, he goes like, if I died before I learned to think, da da da. It's kind of in this kind of sleepy state of contemplation, and very well done. I really like the song. I did not even know that this was a 90s song. I literally thought that it was within the 2000s or something like that. But then I realized, wow, it actually is from the 90s. Huh, I did not know that. So I think it's definitely not one of the more greater known one-hit wonders of the 90s, but I really dig it. I think it's I'm saying such strange wording, terminology here, but I really, really think this song is awesome. And I think that it's just because it takes this more kind of dreamlike state approach, and I think is dealing with things like dealing with life, with the concept, I guess, of God. At one point the lyrics do mention God, and I think it even has, at one point, I think it even has church bells, or just bells, like really deep sounding bells ringing. And again, there's a lot of kind of background noises in this song, and that's why I like it too. It's kind of, I think there's, at one point there's like somebody choking almost. And I don't know if this song has maybe different versions or not. But I think at one point there's like this person, I think, kind of struggling to breathe. So I think you could probably say it could be interpreted as maybe a near-death experience. And I think, you know, when you're sort of addressing life's purpose, you're often dealing with the concept, you know, that life doesn't last forever. There's an ending point to life, and a part of life is death. And I think that's oftentimes what happens when people do sort of these philosophical debates within their mind. They look at it that way because there's death involved. So yeah, I think that's really all I can say about this song. I think it's really, really good in its own right, even though it may not be maybe one of the more recognized one-hit wonders in the 90s, but I think that's really all I can say. Those were all of the songs. I will try to put all of these songs in the links if I can. This video is a lot of fun to do. I apologize if at times I freaked out about the spider in my room. I'm sorry. Bugs really scare me. And spiders, because spiders aren't really classified as bugs. But that spider really freaked me out. It was just like crawling there, and I was just like, okay, no, you can't be in my room. I'm sorry. So I had to kind of give it some treatment so that it would get away from me. And I had to turn on the lights because, again, sometimes when I do these videos, at times I'll be like, it's sort of before nighttime but not completely, and then at points it's like, oh, it's okay, it's not so bad, and then it gets really dark, and then I go, oh, I should turn on the lights, and I don't have editing or any of that stuff, so I'm just limited to just getting onto the camera and talking, but I like it this way. I mean, I personally, for me, I prefer it. I just feel it's more human that way for me. I like it when just random stuff pops out at me and I still have the camera on and going. Or if I get distracted at points, I really don't mind. And I think it was just funny how that spider just popped out of nowhere and I was like freaking out. But again, I think that's really all I can say in this video. Any questions, comments, concerns, more than happy to answer them. If you have some one-hit wonders out there that maybe I did not mention, or if you'd like to share them, I'd be more than happy to hear your thoughts. And yeah, until next time. Oh, and before I go, I wanted to just bring up that I will be finished with this book by tomorrow, and it's called The Secret Hour, and it's like based on this Midnighters series, and it's by the author who did the Uglies, Pretties, and Specials series. So stay tuned for this. Doing this tomorrow, going to finish it. I am so close, so close and being done, but I will finish it tomorrow and review it. And then the next book that I'm going to read is actually a big classic, Oliver Twist. I always thought the story was kind of fascinating, but I wasn't able to really look into it, but definitely will look into that and read it. But again, maybe some other books may pop up beforehand before I review Oliver Twist, because it is kind of long and it might take me some time, so I may review another one that another book that I already did. But we'll kind of see what happens. I want to try to see if I can read Gone with the Wind and then all the other books that I bought. But I think I'm just going to have to see how that all plays out. This video was kind of long, I do apologize. But for the most part, I think everything that I've mentioned, again, there was a lot of songs here. I think the next ones will probably be a little bit more limited, but we'll just see what happens. Any questions, comments, concerns, more than happy to answer them. And until next time, bye-bye, everybody.